Welcome to the Beacon Way podcast, hosted by award-winning executive team of Beacon Media and Marketing. With over 3 decades of experience, Adrienne, Jennifer, and Ken give you an insider's view of what's working, what's not, and what's on the horizon for digital marketing. Grow your business today with the Beacon Way podcast.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Beacon Way podcast, where we're transforming people through business. Today, I have a fantastic guest with me. Josh is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, and Josh is works with Sandler. You're the only Sandler trainer in Atlanta, Georgia. Is that correct?
No, there's a
bunch of you now.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 5 offices here.
Wow. Okay, so it's really grown.
We're just probably the most established. They're all great people.
Yeah.
But our office here is probably the most established in Atlanta.
Wonderful.
It is by quite a few years, and but they're all great people. They're all colleagues.
Yeah.
So separate offices.
Okay, gotcha. So what got you into doing the Sandler method? What's kind of your story around that?
Yeah, for those that may be listening, like, what is Sandler, right? We're kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the sales, training, coaching, consulting world. And just to kind of back up, how did I get into Sandler? I was the national director of sales of a golf instruction company that's worldwide, believe it or not. And so I have a background in golf and the whole 9 yards. And the business had grown. When I joined that organization, there were 50 employees. And by the time I left, there were 800.
Wow.
And so there were 650 people out there selling golf lessons, doing their thing. It's a great process. They had a great process, but very inconsistent across 650 golf coaches actually selling.
Right.
And so once I'd worked my way up to the position I got into, I became a Sandler client and Sandlerized the sales process for that company. And then I decided, you know what, I want to do this for a lot of different things. And so this is my 10th year as a Sandler coach. Wow. And so I decided to do this, and now I work with a lot of different companies, where they have a great process, and we use the Sandler tools to overlay that process to bring consistency across teams and really elevate, abilities across it and really help people do their jobs even better. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Very cool. So what do you feel like sets Sandler apart? I know there's a lot of different sales tools out there, but what really drew you to Sandler, and what's kind of stands out to you that's different from other tools or techniques out there?
I believe it comes down to, Sandler's got staying power.
Very true.
Like I've always said, a lot of the methodologies out there, I mean, if you route it back to, it's something David Sandler actually, a lot of these are truths that have been true for centuries and eons. I like to say Sandler is selling the way people love to be sold to, or how they like to buy, all of those things. And so, it's been one of those things that David Sandler put this whole system together. Shoot, back in the 60s, he was doing this stuff, and it's really had the staying power just because, it's communication. I mean, I like to tell people we have all these Sandler rules, which are really speaking in bumper stickers, that things that people remember. Yeah. And coming from a sales trainer, I love to pull out the pattern interrupt one of you can't sell anybody anything until they discover that they want it. And so it's not selling, it's serving, it's making sure that you've got more outward focus, and it's about your buyer and them making the best decision, even if that's not buying from you right now. And that's okay. Right. It's making sure salespeople are prioritizing their time with the people that are ready, willing, and able to buy now, and it fits what they're looking for. So it's much more long game focused to relationships versus just a transactional, just take what money you can get. That's not what we do at all.
My business partner, my co-founder, she is a Sandler trained salesperson. So I was ops, she was sales, kind of a thing when we first merged companies back in 2012. Well, one of the things that she was really excited about when digital marketing came on the scene and inbound marketing, the whole different, it was a completely different approach to marketing. Advertising, traditional advertising was, here, let's shove this product in your face. This commercial over and over and over again, buy this, buy this, buy this. And inbound marketing completely reversed that to the educational thing, a longer term thing. And she was like, this is like the manifestation of so many pieces of the Sandler method. And that was my first introduction to it, where she's like, oh yeah, and this ties in here. And we'd be like, so everybody was learning about this new, marketing method, and it was massively disruptive to the advertising world. And now you don't even hardly hear the word advertising anymore. It's mostly all marketing, which is really kind of this flip of, let's invite the clients in and let's educate them, whether they pick from us or somebody else. We're educating them and helping them make the best decision, understanding that's going to have the best client retention. And then that they turn into fans and they refer, and it becomes this really beautiful cycle. But that was completely the antithesis of traditional advertising and traditional sales, even outside of the Sandler method. And so it was a really fun early days for her and I, as we were kind of bringing these two pieces together. And so, yeah, I learned a lot of it vicariously through her, and finding out that actually the inbound methods were very much Sandler methods, which is really interesting. So, yeah.
It's so funny that you're absolutely right. I mean, there's, when you think about bringing people in front of you, is the whole Sandler thing is, we want to educate them, but we got to be educated about them.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. What are they looking for to be able to position our services, our products, to make sure it actually fits? We got to know more about them first. Right. And so it's certainly a qualify first mentality. My name is Josh Pitchford. I've been in sales my entire life. My nickname is Pitch. And I can't stand a sales pitch.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear it. Right. And so when people say, hey, can you help me with my pitch? No, I don't want to help with your pitch. I want to ask, are you questioning? Are you understanding?
Right.
Are you positioning what you want to say in the right vein? Because you've asked enough questions to truly understand what's going on, with your prospect or your customer before you start pitching people anything.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, I do.
Unique conundrum for me and my nickname.
Yeah. Well, something I used to do, Business Network International, if you've ever heard of it, BNI. So I used to run it in the
acronym.
Yes, exactly. But I used to be the regional director for Alaska, and one thing that the Ivan Meisner, who founded it, one of his favorite things to say was, everybody hates to basically be sold, but we love to buy. And we want to buy from somebody we know, like, and trust. And so that's been a foundational part even of our inbound marketing, is you have to build that connection. You have to build that trust first, and then invite the client to buy from you, as opposed to forcing them into selling, kind of a thing. Because they want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. They don't want to be pitched, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with that. That's really what it's all about. And, a lot of what I do all day, every day, is give people these tools, but then we're also working on taking it from a mindset of doing these things that weaponizes some of the questioning. We don't want to do that. That's a mindset some random sales trainer somewhere might have taught you. But the people that really embrace the Sandler tools and stuff, they have a heart set that they're doing it, that they're more outward focused versus just thinking about, I got to make my number, I got to make quota, I got to make payroll, I got to do all this, right? It's truly playing the long game and not trying to sell everybody in front of them, but really making sure that they're working on the right kind of deals that are going to be best for them, best for the client, and then making sure they're only staying focused on those.
That's powerful. So, how do you help clients really define their target market? Because that's a big crossover for us in marketing as well. How do you kind of help clients walk through, or is that something that you do, as far as, like, you can't sell everything to everybody? How do you narrow down your target market?
Yeah. We're always using the sales term, ideal client profile.
Right.
Right. And, But we have 3 ways we kind of look at it. What are the geographics, right? Where are they?
Yeah.
Does that matter in their world? Okay, geographically, where are they? The demographics is usually the way people kind of are drawn to the numbers around it, right? Is it so many people, so many, whatever it happens to be? What are the numbers? Are they this big of a company or this big? Are they willing to spend this? Whatever it happens to be, the demographics behind it really gets more of the objective side of it, if you will, the numbers. Right. And then one of the things that we talk about a lot is what are their psychographics? And the psychographics is do they value what you do, your service, your product?
Yeah.
Because they can have, to use Sandler vernacular, they can have all the pain, all the investment dollars they want, and all. You'd be talking to decision makers, but if they don't value you and they don't have the mindset, maybe you're selling something that you've got to have an early adopter mindset, and they're ones that have a tendency to sit on the sidelines and watch it be a proven concept. That's not your prospect.
Right.
It might be perfect. You might see it, but they're not going to.
Right.
And so we spend a lot of time, getting people to think hard about those 3 areas. Nice. And one way I simplify it, right? We both are in our program together. That's always simplify to multiply, right? Think about the person or the company that you work with, that you say, if I had 10 or 20 more of those people,
right,
all day, every day in my calendar, that's what are the characteristics of that that you want to go replicate? That's really it in a nutshell, as I look at it. And so I go so far as, Adrienne, when I teach this, is I do the whole slide with the geographics, demographics, psychographics, and then I put up a picture of the lady that's my ideal client. She's a client of mine. She's been around for 8+ years. Cool. She's great. She's wonderful, sharp as a whip. And I have a picture of her.
Very cool.
Right there. And so I put, do you look like that? So I'm a visual learner too, so that helps.
I think most of us are, at least to some degree or another. I'm
got more and more so.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm dyslexic and I have dyscalculia, so I've got multiple learning disabilities and grew up. My mom actually learned how to teach dyslexic kids, which was a brand new thing. I'll date myself, back in the 80s. And so I actually took the very first Slingerland curriculum that existed in the state of Alaska back in the day. And yeah, kind of crazy. But one of the really fascinating things that I wish we did better with, and is that the understanding that we all have, we're either visual, kinesthetic, or auditory learners. Everybody's a combination, some combination of that. But when we teach something all 3 ways, it not only is going to connect with whatever that person is, but it reinforces, and when we're touching on the other ones too, everybody, whether you have a learning disability or not, you get it faster. And not only is the repetition helpful, but you get it. And so when you can see it, hear it, and have to say it, or some version of that, it's amazing the statistics on how much faster we get a concept and how much longer we retain it, which is really, really fascinating. So yeah, I could talk about learning stuff all day long, but I used to coach volleyball. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would make the girls learn everything 3 ways. We'd go over the play, we'd talk it through, see it on paper, and then we'd go walk it through on the court. And they'd be like, Coach, this is the 3rd time. When we, and I was like, you're going to thank me later. I trust me. But at the moment, yes, I understand this is repetitious, but you're going to thank me later. Because most of the time, especially in high school, junior high, they didn't know what learning style they were, which makes sense.
They started to get a feel for it when they got a few years older. Yeah, we could go on for days about their adult learning model, all of those things, the retention levels, right? When you hear it, you see it, then you teach it back to somebody. The retention goes through the roof. And so I challenge a lot of our folks that are doing workshops with us. We take 5 minutes at the end of every workshop to do a lessons learned, to make them reflect on, what's the one thing that resonated with you, was a good reminder, whatever it happened to be. And then make a commitment to who you're going to go tell about it 3 times this week to, ingrain it so that it shows up in the moment, right? Because I can teach all these sales tactics and tools and conversational things in a workshop, but until we're using it, in the meeting room, does it really matter?
Right.
And so I challenge people to do that. And I'm big on the learning side. Is that golf instruction company I worked with, I worked my way up from a coach. So I've taught 12,000 golf lessons in my career.
Wow.
So if you can do it with a golf club, I've seen it done.
I bet.
So you and I could talk for days about that, about how people learn and probably some of the challenges we've seen over the years.
It's a fascinating thing. But yeah, my brother and sister and I were the guinea pigs as my mom learned all these, learning techniques. And I think we took every personality test and learning style test that existed as she was going through her schooling to learn how to teach us, which was really fun. She homeschooled all of us for at least a few years for each one of us. But yeah, it was a really unique legacy, I think, that's very cool to carry into being a business owner, of recognizing that not every one of your employees is going to learn the same way. And, my co-founder, Jennifer, she's verbal. Like, she processes verbally, she retains information verbally, and that's my weakest one. So it's always been a challenge because I'm like, slow down. I got to get my notebook. I got to write this down or I won't retain any of it, kind of a thing. And I could tell her something and she'd remember it for 10 years. Like, it's amazing. But if she, and seeing it definitely is, she's very visual too. And so am I. But that one was always funny because she just, she started talking and I'm like, but, she's already 10 minutes in, and I'm like, wait, come back. So, but yeah, that's when we learned about each other of just like, she's got to give me enough time to make sure I have my notebook to write it down because I won't remember it. If it's just auditory, it's in one ear and out the other. But understanding
that. No doubt. And in this day and age, you got to record everything.
Oh, yeah.
You got to record it. Right? It's like, ooh, this is good stuff that we're talking about here. Somebody hit voice record on the phone or whatever. Yeah. And we find ourselves doing that. It's like, okay, back up 2 minutes. This is going a lot deeper than I thought I was going to, and it might be good stuff. And so we record everything in our business because, we have 6 people that work with us alongside here, and we have a 105-page operations manual because everything is documented. Wow. Right? One of our number one rule around here is be a product of the product. And part of that is we would like, our businesses that we work with to have good documented processes and learning models for people to learn faster, and ramp time for salespeople would be shortened up. And so we're going to try to model that. And to that end, we record a lot. And it was like, how are we going to use this? Where should this slot in?
Yeah.
And putting ourselves in the mindset if it was day one here and we wanted to know how to do something, let's record it. So that, somebody can go back to it later.
Yeah.
All those things and learn faster.
It's nice that we have so many more tools to be able to record stuff, translate stuff. Although some of the AI translations are pretty funny, I have to say. We giggle at some of them. We're like, that's what you heard us say? Really?
Yeah. Imagine being from Kentucky, going to school in Mississippi, then working in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, back to Georgia. It doesn't understand anything I say. Like, my talk to tech is hilarious. I will send people stuff and they just sit back, LOL. What does this mean? I'm like, Siri doesn't understand Kentucky-ese at all. So that's what
I could see that. Yes.
It'll be
a challenge. So what's an ideal client for you?
So, ideal client, obviously they have, challenge with their sales team, and they have awareness of it, that they see that there's a gap, they're in growth mode, and those kind of things, that they see the opportunity to grow. A lot of the clients my best clients are the ones that I'm talking to the sales leaders all the time. And they're really leaning into, okay, I'm seen as a partner versus just this trainer vendor person that we went and got. I'm not seen as a third party. They call this thing all the time, text me, I become their guy. I was having lunch just 2 hours, 3 hours ago now with one of those guys, right? And it's like we become closer than just this vendor relationship.
Nice.
And I really think that, our ideal client is really set in mindset. That people can have, like I was referring to earlier, they can check all the boxes, but if they don't believe in growing, lifelong learner, intellectually humble, that there is a better way to do it,
Right.
and there's probably some things that they've already done well that it works so well they quit doing it. And so I have a way of starting off my training workshops with a new group that it's kind of an icebreaker that I tell them there's 3 things you're looking for. Number 1, hey, I know this. Great. You're doing it right. Take that leverage that you're already thinking the right way, all that stuff, because I can't train a group and them think that everything's, like they know things already.
Right.
That's great. They have a foundation.
Yeah.
Number 2, hey, I knew that. It's, hey, I used to do it. It worked so well. I quit doing it. I need a good reminder. I need reinforcement, because that's our whole model is small dosed ongoing reinforcement training. And then the final thing is they might find some stuff that's new.
Yeah.
So it's what they know, what they knew, and something that's new.
Right.
And so they can lean into that, and they really, you can tell the people that start to melt and say, okay, this guy's got our best interest in mind. Cool. He's not trying to shove stuff down our throat, trying to reinvent the wheel here. Let's get 1% better every day. It's the whole Atomic Habits thing, right? That everybody's read that book at this point. It's probably listening to this. If you haven't, make sure you read it. But that whole Atomic Habits of just getting slightly better every single day versus trying to reinvent the wheel. That's too tough.
Right. I mean, I think I love the Atomic Habits book and the idea of being able to build on it. And that, that old adage, how do you move a mountain? Well, one rock at a time. How do you simplify it down? I was just reading, I'm almost done with a book called Switch by Dan and Chip Heath. And it's talking about how to affect change when change is hard. And that's one of their big things is as leaders, we have to help our team break things down into those tiny little pieces that we can, back to the Atomic Habits idea, that we can change one piece at a time. Because otherwise, we give them some huge initiative, or we announce this huge initiative at the company retreat or whatever, and everybody's like, oh, that's exciting. And now what do we do with it? And so the idea of,
they're just completely overwhelmed, and what are we going to do this?
Right. Yeah.
You move my keys.
Yes. Well, and I think us as leaders, it's sometimes easy to get caught up in that visionary piece of, oh, this is where we're going. Okay, now we got to reverse engineer that down to be able to do that 1% each day, or that 1% a week. Sometimes it takes a week or two to make that. But I really like, because they talk, the authors talk a lot about, you've got to connect to the emotional side as well as the analytical side. And I think there's a lot of that in the sales too. Like, you can't just dump a whole bunch of statistics. You got to connect to the person, kind of a thing.
There's a Sandler rule. People buy emotionally and they justify their decisions logically, but they buy emotionally first. And if we're quote unquote selling internally a vision, a strategy, or whatever, we got to remember that people are going to buy into it for their reasons, not ours. That's another Sandler rule. People are going to buy for their reasons, not ours, right? We can, you're in a marketing agency. You can come up with all the stuff you want to in the world why people should buy. They don't care until they know their reasons that they want to buy, and it's kind of the same thing when, as you said, if you're sitting up here in some of these large organizations and you're thinking strategically, your viewpoint, if you look at a hierarchy, at a, what is it, an org chart hierarchy, right? It looks like a mountain. Well, guess what? The viewpoint from the top is a lot farther than the people at the bottom that are, the day in, day out people that are getting it done and doing great work, but they just have a viewpoint that's shorter.
Right. Yeah.
And when we're talking up here about all this stuff and they go, I just need to make sure I get my projects done this week.
Right. Yes, exactly. What does this mean for me today and this week?
Exactly. Like, can we chunk this down a little bit? Because they can't see that horizon from the seat they're sitting in. And it's hard for them to buy in when they don't have the same viewpoint.
Right.
Or not viewpoint as far as perspective, but they don't have that viewpoint from where that strategic decision is made. Is where I'm going with it.
Well, and I think, that's not even their role in the company. Like you need them where they're at because they're the ones that are getting everything done day in and day out. Without them, you don't have a company, so it's like, that's a big part of that leadership thing is, like you said, translating that down to the different viewpoints all the way down, because they're the ones that are actually affecting the change. Leadership comes top down, but like it's the people that are on the front lines that are the ones that are actually going to change the organization. And, if you're not motivating them well, if you're not motivating your employee or your potential customer in the right way, connecting emotionally, you're never going to get them across the finish line, whether it's buying the product or affecting the change. For us, right now it's AI. Like, we got to use AI. And I know it's terrifying and I know it's scary, but if we don't use it and don't learn it, somebody else who has learned it is going to replace us. And so it's
absolutely
that vision.
They won't replace us. It's going to replace those that don't use it. There's no doubt that that saying's been used over and over and over again. And it's absolutely the truth. I see it day in, day out. And what you were talking about a little bit earlier of, being able to get people to buy in that, inside of Sandler, we have this concept of the BAT triangle, behavior, attitude, and
nice.
It really comes down to what you need to do, right? Why you need to do it and how you go about doing it.
Yeah.
And in the middle is success. Like, it might be a strategy, it might be where we're going, whatever. Is what I like to say is it's the further down that people go, they don't appreciate strategic, like, business platitudes, like rah fluff stuff.
Exactly.
They want to know, what are we doing? How am I going to do it? Do I need training? Do I need to develop somewhere? Right. So the what, the how, and then their why, attaching their personal why. Why does it matter to them? What's in it for them? Right. It is getting everybody to success in the middle of that whole triangle. And so I just had that in my mind that I felt like we needed to, pounce on there because, the viewpoints are so different. And so the messaging has to be far different because people can think strategically and talk in these big fluffy things and everything. But at some point, somebody wants to go, okay, that's great. Give me a step-by-step plan of how, what do you want me to do?
What does that mean for me?
What play do you want me to go run, coach? I'll go do that.
Right. Exactly. But you got to know the why and how it affects them for sure. And that definitely feeds into the whole emotional side of sales too. If you're not, like you said, motivating their why, not your why, but their why, their emotional connection, that's where you get, I think, out some of those false yeses of like, if I say yes, will you get off my back? And then the no comes later, the ghosting and whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. I thought that was just a problem down south where, we'll think it over is just a really nice no, right? Because people are sometimes too kind. Bless your heart, right? That was a great presentation. You're a great salesperson. That's the kiss of death in sales. If you hear that, that's not.
I would say it's fairly universal for us, except for maybe places like New York.
Nothing wrong with our listeners in New York, right?
But they are very direct. They will, and it's
I will take that.
And it sometimes it's refreshing. I have to say, you like, okay, your no is no, your yes is yes. Awesome, let's move on. Kind of a thing. So there's pluses and minuses both ways. But and maybe it's the industry that we target with mental health where they want to let us down nice. But we hear, it's definitely I mean, I will say we don't hear it as much because we have some amazing salespeople. My one of my partners is our chief revenue officer. He's very, very good. But what happens is we get people that, at least we got this. If we sell the wrong person, if we're not reading the room right, that's going to result in client churn, and that's brutal. We've spent X amount of, hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars acquiring that client. and then onboarding them, and then they can't, wait to get out until they can wait to get out, and it's just like, okay, we didn't vet well, we didn't really meet them where they're at, kind of a thing.
Think about that. Protect the brand starts with qualifying well.
Yeah.
And so, because if somebody comes in that's not a right fit client, they have a bad experience, it's not good for your brand. Because, the statistics, they quote them forever, right? If they have a great experience, they're going to tell this many people. If they have bad experience, they shout it from the rooftop on Google these days, right? So they don't just tell 7 people or whatever the stats used to be. They tell the world.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
All the more reason to make sure you're working with the right kind of people that are right for your business, that you'll enjoy working with. That goes back to the old mindset. They value you,
right,
and what you do, because they'll look for the good in it if they do. So
no, it's one of the things that I really appreciate about the Sandler method is playing the long game and that particular piece, and a lot of the aspects that come with that, because I think it is too easy, those impulse buys, or just somebody saying yes just because they're uncomfortable and they want the conversation over. And those are just never, like you said, those are never good clients. It's going to have churn. You're going to have bad reviews. But I think business owners get scared to vet. They get scared to pre-qualify. We see it a lot of where, it's like, no, you got to niche down. And they're just like, but, and it's like, no, you got to pick your niche. You got to focus on that. And then you've got to vet well. Like, takes some courage up front, but in the long run, it's going to pay off in spades, kind of a thing.
It's a scarcity mindset that they feel like they've got to have everything, and you're starting out your business, especially, you're taking, I always kid around that, I can sit here and talk about qualification and asking hard questions and everything. Shoot, when I was starting out my Sandler business, I kid around with people. You know what it took to qualify for a meeting with me? Did you have a pulse? Could you fog a mirror?
Yeah.
Right?
We did the same thing when we started Beacon.
I was getting, you're getting an at bat. I get it, but it only takes a few of those to burn you. And you just want to get there faster. I still remember my moment.
Oh, yeah.
This was way pre-COVID. I had not qualified well, and I was in a office building parking lot at 3:30 in the afternoon on the northwest side of Atlanta. Okay, and I live way on the north end, like North Georgia mountains. 45 minutes north of Atlanta. And I was over there 3:30 in the afternoon. The meeting was at 3:30, and I got the old 15-minute cancel. When it pops up and it's a 15-minute reminder. I'd driven all the way over there. It's going to take me forever and a day to get back, right? This is pre-COVID when traffic was really crazy. It's coming back fine, by the way. And so I'm over there. I'm already in pain. Well, I talked this guy into keeping the meeting because I'm already there. I'm sitting in the parking lot. So I sell the meeting again. Not only was it a bad meeting, I then sold it again. So I'm digging myself right? I walk in. And anybody out there that knows Sandler, and I mentioned earlier, we're going to qualify first before we pitch anything. I walk in there, I have basically nothing. I have stuff to take notes in, right? And the guy literally asked me, so do you need like a projector to plug in to do your pitch? And I was like, I have nothing. I was here for a conversation.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was like, you talk about no qualification whatsoever. I was like, oh, this was not Sandler. I am not being a product of the product here. So I've told that story 1,000 times because, we all do it because we do whatever we can to get our business off the ground, get some cash flow, if you will. And you just hope you get burned faster. And it's not that expensive.
Right.
So that you start behaving correctly, doing the things you should be doing.
I know. I think it took Jennifer and I maybe 7 years before we really had the courage to niche down. I mean, we would kind of keep going like this, but we kind of hit a point where it was now a chasm to make that leap. We could kind of do it a little bit, but in 2018, we went national. So we started branching out of Alaska and taking on national clients. And that's when I think our rubber hit the road, where it was one thing when we were in a much smaller fishbowl in Alaska, in Anchorage,
Sure.
much smaller population, but so it didn't push us as hard. But once we started, now we're marketing all over the country. It was like, okay, we really have to do this. Like we don't have we never really had a choice. Like you said, like you hope it happens sooner, but embarrassingly enough, and we tell this story as well. Like it took us a long time. We get how challenging it is. Like we understand the courage it takes to take that leap and niche down, and to qualify, because it took us a long time to get there, and we paid for it, like you said. But yeah, it was a challenge, and it was amazing once we did. But it took us a while to get there, for sure.
You bring your focus down to what you're looking for, and all of a sudden you find it a lot more often.
Strange how that happens.
Funny how that happens, right?
Yes, exactly.
The fishbowl, the concept I love is like, hey, we're in a much bigger fishbowl. Well, in Anchorage, anything stands out in that fishbowl, right? Nothing against Anchorage, but when you go nationwide, you got to be a pretty colorful fish to the specific people in order to stand out.
Absolutely.
In the fishbowl, because it's just gotten bigger. You got to be a bigger player. You got to, like you said, niche down, and we call it industry focus in our business.
Yeah.
So making sure you're known for something.
Right.
And you kind of become the person, if you will, in that particular industry.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Good for you guys. Just wish it wouldn't have taken you 6 years.
I know, me too.
Probably some expensive lesson learned in there.
Yep. Definitely some painful ones, for sure.
I didn't mean to put you in pain. I didn't mean to do that. I'm not working. Yeah.
It's, it's been, Jennifer and I laugh. I think we feel like we've probably made every mistake in the business owner entrepreneurship book there is to make, and probably invented a few new ones. But it's like my dad's a therapist. This is part of why we niche down into the therapy world, because I grew up with a therapist. My husband was a behavioral health counselor for many years. So it's definitely been a world I grew up in, a world I understand the languaging. But, he always used to tell me, he's just like, it's the challenging times in which we grow. And my version of it now, we don't grow when things are easy. We grow through the challenges we face and overcome. And I remember one time plopping myself in his office, and a few years into Jennifer and I working together, and I was just like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. This is so hard. This is so hard. And he's just kind of sitting there grinning, listening to it. And then he's like, that's great. I'm like, what do you mean it's great? This is not great right now. This is hard. This sucks, and I don't know how to, right now, I don't know how to get through it. I know we will, but I don't see how right now. And that's what he's just like, no, this is when you grow. This is when your character develops. This is when you go deep. And it was like, I don't want to hear that right now. Yes, exactly. Yep. Abs.
It sits on my desk. We were sending these out 2 or 3 years ago to a lot of clients, just these cool little painted planks, right, with Sandler rules on them. And I grabbed this one because I fail every day, right? And so you got to learn the lessons. If you don't learn the lessons, it gets a lot more difficult.
So true.
And I think that's what the great ones always do, is watch their game film, as we call it. They take time to reflect and say, I messed that up. They tell stories on themselves, like I was doing just a minute ago, like you were doing. That stuff resonates with you, and it keeps you from making those mistakes over and over again. And that's where the growth comes from. But people got to be able to take that and realize, hey, if you're starting out a business, you got to be you got to just be immersed in it. Like nothing else in the world matters. It's just like you that's what you're thinking about all the time. And it's going to be this like thing that you're like fixated on.
Yeah.
Will also make the mistakes that happen hurt more. But keeping that long game focus on, okay, what am I learning today? I started, and I've probably got this from Dan, right? Dan Sullivan. For about, 2 years now, every night at 9 p.m., my phone goes off. I have an appointment that's called Log Wins.
Nice. Yep.
And I write down 3 things minimum that are wins for the day. And some days there's not 3 wins. There's 3 lessons learned. And I have to look at those as wins as well. And so there's plenty of those when you're getting your business off the ground. It's easy to find lessons learned more so than wins. It feels like a lot of days. But It's easy to say that when you turn the corner. It's the people in the doldrums right now. Like, that's complete crap. No, it's not. It's proven over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just, you'll see it one day. Just the faster you start looking at those hard times as lessons learned, what am I taking away from this? Huge game changer as far as mindset and the ability to move forward.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, that was his book with Benjamin Hardy, The Gap and the Gain, was a really great eye-opener, because I'm that driver personality. I would probably have been that entrepreneur at the time that was like, but no, like, I failed because I didn't you know, and it's like, right, but look at all the stuff that you did do. Well, I love those 3, you know, at least 3 wins. Like you said, some days there's not. Yep. Because I think some days are not. It's just like, wow, yeah, I learned a lot this today. But that idea of measuring backwards and really acknowledging the growth that comes from those mistakes and learning, because I think if we're just always chasing that horizon, that next goal, we're not stopping to learn. And we're just always punishing ourselves and chasing that horizon. And so that was one of the kind of pieces that was really impactful for me, is like, part of measuring backwards is taking time to, what did we learn from that? What were the successes? And, you know, and we actually did learn a lot. And I do think entrepreneurs, we tend to push and not stop long enough to count our wins and count our lessons. And you're right. When you're in the doldrums, this all sounds great and sounds unattainable.
It sounds like complete hogwash.
You're like, right? Yeah, that's great for you. But meanwhile, I'm over. I mean, that's what we did for 6 years. We're like, yeah, we told our clients all day long they needed to niche down. But we were so in the doldrums that we're just like, we'll do that someday. Once we get to this benchmark, we'll do that. You're never going to get to that benchmark if you don't.
You're never going to.
But we chased it for 6 years, knowing we needed to do it, you know, and so.
Knowing you were saying one thing and doing another doesn't help either.
It doesn't.
It hurts.
It does. It really does.
You know, it doesn't make you feel authentic to yourself.
No.
And so I get where you're coming from. And that the Gap and the Gain book, that whole series, right? Gap and the Gain, 10X is easier than 2X. And I'm blanking on the other one.
Who, not how. I happen to have them right. Who, not how. Yes.
Who, not how, right? That's my whole, who's my who for this. I live that. Those books I've probably recommended. I mean, Sandler's got all these books. And so I'm always looking for outside resources. And I tell people all the time, do not read those books. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, get the audio book.
So much better.
Ben and Dan commit for 30 minutes in between every chapter. I've probably listened to those books over. And I spend way too much time at a soccer field. Well, a park with soccer fields at it. My son is out there all the time, and I'm walking.
Right.
That's how I get my exercise. And I'm listening to this stuff all the time. And so I love those books. I'm so glad you brought that one up, because you're absolutely right. And, you know, we just ended the calendar quarter just ended for a lot of businesses a couple of days ago. And we had our team together on last Friday. We do we kind of get, we have a beautiful training room here in Atlanta, the whole 9 yards, but that's our box, right? And if you want to think outside the box, you got to get out of your own box. And so we go off site and get a room, do all this stuff. And we do spend some time looking backwards. And it's so crazy how intentional you have to be to look back on a quarter and see all that you accomplished. You have to look back on your calendar. You got to look back in meeting notes and all this stuff, because we're all driven that what's next. We got to be uber intentional about looking back, because people are bringing stuff up and I'm like, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty big deal.
Right.
And we hadn't even thought about it. And so we have to be ultra intentional about that, like having that positive focus mindset of looking back to then be able to be in a good mindset to look forward. And so we try to be really, really good about that. But I'm amazed at the stuff we get done every quarter that it's like we're sense of accomplishment. And then you go, it's the next thing. And if you don't take time to look back on it, it's kind of lost. And you get that endorphin rush again, if you will, whenever you get to look back on it and say, I did do something this quarter, even though it may not feel like it. So
no, that's a great perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Because that is, I think, especially for driven teams, it's really easy for us to just always keep pushing forward, for sure. Well, as we wrap up today, Josh, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience out there? We covered a lot of distance today. It was great.
We did. We talked about a lot of different things, and there's not really anything to kind of summarize it up, other than where you are today won't be where you are tomorrow. Just be intentional about where you want to be tomorrow. As much as we want to look back and have the gap and the gain focused, all that, gain focused, gain looking back and not always doing that, but, decide where you want to go. You can write your own story. And,
Right.
when you look out that, do I even have it sitting around here? Yeah, I do. This book right here, this little, I don't know, I get like 6 of them for like $12 on Amazon. And I don't know if you can read it, but it says, I want. It says, I want on the front. And I spent a lot of time saying, what do I want? And when you got that viewpoint of what you want, the universe has a way of giving it to you, because you're going to have that, reticular activation, if you will, of those opportunities to get what you want.
Right.
Be clear on what you want. You don't have to share with anybody. Put it in a book. Start writing it down.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Josh. And thank you for joining me today. It was a great conversation. And we'll make sure we include links in the area below for all the books we talked about today, and Josh's program as well. If you're interested in checking it out and getting any more information, we'll make sure there's a direct link there. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you so much, Josh, for taking time out of your day today.
Appreciate it so much for the invitation. Great conversation. Looking forward to seeing you in Chicago soon at our workshop.
You have been listening into the Beacon Way podcast. Make sure to join us for new episodes every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Beacon Way on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.